All right, we are live, man, and we are back. GYGB War Report show. We got a lot to discuss. We're in the season, man. We're the crew up in Philly. I'm down here in Florida, but like the crew up in Philly is really getting it as far as the winter's concerned, man. And for the Game of Thrones heads, shout out to Train here, who's here right now. What up? What up? What up?
Yo, what up, man?
What's it called? The winter.
Yo, man, we up here. Winter's coming in Game of Thrones. Yeah, winter's coming. Anybody that's a throner, that's a Game of Thrones head, know that's a infamous phrase that's thrown around on that show. And it's funny because the show is always in the winter, but
there's never summer solstice or that.
Like there's like a wall. There's a wall that breaks down the different sectors of these of the world. You got the south of the wall, north of the wall. So anything north of the wall is like where the cold is, and we like way north of the wall where we're at.
Word, yeah, man. I mean, between y'all and then my fam up in New York, man. Trying to tell, yeah, and the funny part is like I'm kind of trying to be the person to tell him, like, yo, man, like there's a haven here from the tundra, man. But hey, man, so we got some boxing to discuss. Obviously, is why we're here. There was fights last weekend we got to touch on real quick. A major announcement that we got officially today as it relates to one of the heavyweight champions of the world. We'll get to that. As well as there's fights this weekend. Again, the PBC on Fox. Now Leo Santa Cruz makes, I don't know if this is his first or second showing on Fox, but any case, the deal with PBC and Fox continues, and we're going to get that this Saturday. In a card where I think the undercard it might be better than the main event, but we'll touch on it. But let's go back to last weekend, man. Well, one of the topics at hand as it relates to a fighter that is being built up. I mean, and let's keep it 100. I mean, Gervonta Tank Davis is being propped up to being one of boxing's next big stars. He's under the obviously when you see Tank, you see Floyd for the most part. There's been controversy as far as that's concerned. But we thought we were going to get Tank Davis and Abner Mares. Abner Mares detached retina during training, had to bow out almost like at the 11th hour. In steps a featherweight, but really career super bantamweight, and Hugo Ruiz. I mean, there's really not much to explain, but I'll give the floor to you, Train. I mean, let's talk about. I mean, there's not much to talk about the performance as far as how everything occurred. But I mean, I guess you could touch on that. But I guess give me your take on where you see Tank going from now to, let's say, the end of this calendar year.
Here's the problem with boxing. Anything south of junior welterweight. And you can even go recently to Manny Pacquiao, who we all know who his story, how he started out so small and then, moved up all the way up to welterweight, and became like this phenom. So he's like an outlier of, what I'm about to say. But for the most part, it's really hard to have the face of boxing being someone that's south of 140. I don't care who it is, what ethnic group. Now, I know people are going to say, well, you had guys like Ricardo Lopez, Rosendo Alvarez, the list goes on of different smaller fighters that were Edwin Rosario's, guys that, were how you throw Pernell Whitaker in there. It was lightweight, career lightweight, and ended up moving up to welterweight. List goes on of smaller guys, but the problem is with that weight class, it doesn't really resonate with the casual fan base. And I think to be a household face name, even look at Broner, I mean, obviously Broner, it is what it is, but he knew that in order to try to be in the conversation of a star, that he had to move up in weight. Because let's face it, Broner's not really a welterweight. He's not even really a junior welterweight. His peak when he was actually still making somewhat of a name for himself was at 135. But he went chasing bread and moved up, 140. What he we moved right up to 147,
He
right?
went
When he fought
135, 147. Yep.
right from 147. So just to kind of back my point up, so I don't see how Gervonta Davis can be a star at that small. And listen, at his best, maybe, and this is like a stretch long shot. Maybe he can make it to 140 one day, but he's such a small guy, stature wise. And listen, you had the Barrera, Morales. Speaking of Pacquiao, that triangle of smaller guys who were remember those fights were considered pay per
Ward.
view success.
Yes.
They were wars, but they wasn't the face of
Right.
boxing. They was
Exactly. They were
guys that,
they were fight fans fights.
right. They were fight fans. They was the type of fights where you got together with your buddies. Maybe somebody ordered it. Maybe y'all all pitched in. But when I understand what Floyd's trying to do with Gervonta, I just don't think that the avenue is there to be created because he's a smaller fighter, and the biggest fight for him, which is the elephant in the room, we all know what that is, and that's Lomachenko. Even Lomachenko himself, like in order for him to become that, he would eventually have to move up, maybe to 140 and fight a Mikey Garcia type. So I don't know. I just think that like it's tough. Like he's in a tough situation because, like you said in the thread, like I don't know if it was this week or last week, you said at his best he's 135 soaking wet, and it's like, is he even really a 135-pound fighter? Like at the end of the day,
Right, man, and that's the thing, man. And I think this, and also too, leading into this fight, he was having trouble making weight, I always say when you start dropping the drawers, man, like the doors closing on that weight class. Now, some people would argue, is it a discipline thing and what have you? I mean, he didn't look that starch, but he's a bulky little dude. He's only
right?
5'5" with barely a 66-inch
Little.
reach. He's a little
Yeah, he's
dude.
very little.
He's a little dude.
Fast.
Yeah, like he's a little dude who is not quick on his feet and isn't darting in and out and isn't somebody. He's himself is comparing himself to Mike Tyson, but again, Mike Tyson was a heavyweight. There's no the lighter.
Different.
That's it. So this is the thing, and we talked about this on the thread too. He has yet to fight like a high level 130 pounder. Okay. And by the looks of it, based on the paradigm of the sport, and we always got to bring it up, the one guy at that weight that people, fight fans, let's just say, would want to see, and I think even from a commercial standpoint, they could do something, is him and Farmer. But obviously, because
about that, I forgot about
and what have you, we know that's not going to happen. Now, there's the story too about him being offered the fight, a 3-fight deal to fight if Farmer would be a part of that. It looked as if Tank wanted it, and then but that's a whole other story. So the thing now is that with Tank, what I see for 2019 is a string of featherweights moving up, fighting him, and it is what it is, and I think after this year, I'm really wondering if they do approach trying to fight Tevin Farmer. Do they fight a Miguel Berchelt? Do they fight this guy Cancio, who just beat Albert Machado, who was the guy who's the real WBA champion, and they gave it to Tank as the super champion. You know how it is, man. Like it's just I think he could beat all those guys. I just feel like, to your point, that weight class isn't going to make him a star, but you do have to put him in some fights that are going to give him some looks, man, because I think the same thing that happened with Broner, where he was fighting these guys they were just like way overmatched, and he wanted to prop up real quick to welterweight where the money was, and what happened? He wasn't ready.
Yeah.
He didn't have enough
He
look.
wasn't ready.
So I fear. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, finish your point, and I'll
Well,
jump in.
I mean, but that's just my thing. Is that I don't know what Tank's trajectory is as it relates to 130 pounds. Are you gonna fight Abner Mars anyway? Like that fight. I don't think is gonna happen because I mean, a detached retina. You're not getting in the ring in the next like 6 months. He has a fight. They're saying maybe in July in Baltimore, which is probably not gonna consist of a major like opponent. And then after that, you want to hope that he fights 3 times a year because he only fought once last year. So then after that, I mean, who's really there? I mean, does like Gary Russell fight him? I mean, I guess, but I think by next year, man, like he's gonna be squeezed out of 130 pounds. And to your point, he just looks really small for that weight, man. Lomachenko looks small, and Lomachenko's bigger than Tank.
And I was going to say, speaking of Ronald Runner, looks tall, bigger than him.
Right.
You know, he looks. I mean, just like a naturally bigger guy. I don't know how much taller he is than Tank. But I just think that you know, as far as like him being this guy that's going to take the baton and be the face of boxing. I listen. I understand what Floyd is trying to do. I get what he's trying to do. I mean, as his promoter, that's what he's supposed to do. I also get the fact that you know that Floyd realizes that and you know, I know we got different. All of us are different when it comes to him and Tevin Farmer. I actually think Gervonta would beat Tevin Farmer, but Floyd also knew that's a danger.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's still a risk adverse fight. It's a high risk, and the reward ain't good enough right now. I think that's a fight you build up for both of their careers. For Farmer too, for his sake. But I like the fact that Farmer.
Yeah, your audio went out real quick, man. Yo, you there? You there? Yo.
Well, 1 second. I lost my.
Oh, I hear you now.
You hear me?
Yeah. No, your audio went out. That's why I was like.
I see it. I got to get back to the John. I had to get back to it. Let me see. Where the heck is my John at? Let's see.
Well, as Train comes back on the line, but I mean, basically, I mean, yeah, I think I honestly random Marcus Brown fighting Jean Pascal. Yeah, shout out to Juwan. That I don't even. When is that taking place? But yeah, I mean, as far as Gervonta Davis is concerned, man. But you know, before we skip on to the the news we got today, I think he's better served. There was an article, and I don't know if it was one of Tank's. It was somebody from Tank's camp. They said that they're looking to follow the blueprint of Floyd's career. I'm like, that's an interesting point because you know there's boxing fans. You know, we're in 2019 already, man. So like, if you just started watching boxing 10 years ago, that would only been 2009. You would have missed the first half of Floyd's career that consisted of fights with Diego Corrales, fights with. Are you there? All right, word. Well, I was making a point. I was making a point with Floyd, as it relates to this article I saw in Boxing Scene where they were talking about one of Tank's people were saying, you know, they're trying to follow Floyd's blueprint, and I'm like, all right, that's cool, but if you're a fan of the sport, and let's just say for argument's sake, if you've only been a fan of it for 10 years, you would have missed Floyd's first half. You know what I'm saying? Like you just saw the second half. You didn't see Diego Corrales. You didn't see Angel Manfredi, Janajo Hernandez, Jose Luis Castillo, Chop Corley. These are fights that pay dividends for Floyd as he progressed because he gained experience under adversity. He gained experience fighting different styles, getting hurt,
right.
and pressure a lot, man. And the problem is these guys want to make the money and they want to be in the limelight, but you got to put the work in, man. And the crazy thing is Floyd says that a lot, man, but I just feel like, and you saw it too, like when they were doing the interviews and things of such, and like Floyd's like butting in, and it's like I get Tank's not the most like animated person when it concerns like an interview, but I don't know, man. Like I feel like Tank's going for the ride, and I don't know what their plan is for him as it relates to making him a star. Because look, right now, if he goes to 135, let's say in the next year, man, like you got guys like Kami there that are big. You got Lomachenko, who the skill factor's there, and he's bigger. And these guys hit harder and just, again, naturally are bigger guys than Tank is, man. And I agree. Better serve that 130. I just don't know how long he can make the weight.
I think with the Lomachenko, this is my personal take on the whole thing with Lomachenko. What I think that they're going to try to do, and it's almost like kind of what happened with Canelo and Triple G. They're going to wait. They're going to try to wait Lomachenko out. This is what I think. If Tank keeps winning and they're putting him in with overmatched guys, you know how the boxing game goes. Because let's face it, the Abner Mares fight was just a name fight. That's not the same Abner Mares that.
Oh, he was gonna get wiped out, man. Yeah.
Yeah, this wasn't Abner Mares that fought Johnny Gonzalez and Ponce de Leon and all these other people that he fought many moons ago. It's a whole different guy. This guy's comfortable. He's living well. You saw his crib. This was like a cash, just a quick check. Anyway, he was being served up. I think with Floyd, what they're trying to do here is that hopefully Lomachenko, by the time Tank's 21 now, maybe another 3.
He's like 24. He's like 24 years old.
Yeah, 2 to 3 years. Because Lomachenko it's not the same as Triple B, but there's some similarities where late bloomers. They're not old. He's not an old guy, but he's always older than Tank. And I think that you might see that fight when it lost its luster a little bit. It's not the same. That's just my personal take on it. But I just think that at the end of the day, to your point, I just don't know how you promote a fighter that small, and especially when he doesn't have a B-side opponent that can draw interest from. I mean, let's face it. I mean, it looks good. I get what they're doing. They are taking a Mike Tyson module, basically. They're basically putting them in a ring. I mean, that was straight out of an old school Tyson playbook where you get a taller guy against a smaller guy and make the smaller guy, look like an assassin, basically. That it was set up like that. And I'm not even going to get into Tank's fight game because there's some things I just don't like about the way that he fights. And I know people, they get caught up in theatrics with knockouts, power. There's things that we see that could be problematic later that could be exploited. Like I saw him get caught with a flush right hand against a guy that you should have no business getting caught with a flush right hand with. But that's a whole nother subject. I mean, we can move on, but the long story short here is that the next star, like Mikey Garcia, will be more of a bigger star than Gervonta. Even with Mikey Garcia losing to Spence, he could be a bigger star than Gervonta Davis is.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's just the weight class. I mean, you're right. Yeah, and not only that, but like even for argument's sake, I mean, let's just say, Deontay Wilder goes on the run and he becomes the guy. I mean, look, an American heavyweight champion of the world, that is gonna take precedence over everything, man. Like, period. So,
and I think sometimes the social media aspect get lost in all this because I heard them kept saying like he has 1 million followers on Instagram. I mean, there's a kid at Wendy's right now with 1 million. with 1 million followers. No, seriously.
It's the truth.
You see it all the time.
That's the days we're living in.
Some random person.
Yo, my man Juan is saying he thinks Tank and Leo Santa Cruz are gonna fight at the end of the year. He thinks that's gonna be like Tank's like name fight.
We forgot about him. I could
I mean, he's
maybe
fighting this
seeing that.
weekend.
I don't. It depends.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like he's the only guy I'll say out of all those guys at 126. He looks like the bigger guy out of all of them. Where like I think at 130 he might be okay. He actually might be better at 130. Who knows? But I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's like again, it's another featherweight moving up. It's not like a natural 130 pounder. But they're gonna give him names, man. Like I think that's kind of the thing. They want to try to put names in front of him and see what happens. But I agree with you, man. I think it's gonna be a tough task. But you know, we'll see. But the big news, man. We kind of saw this coming down the pipeline, but what we were kind of waiting for as it related to Anthony Joshua is finally happening this year, June 1st. He's making his U.S. debut facing Big Baby or Jarrell Big Baby Miller live at Madison Square Garden, and it'll be on DAZN. So, look, this is what we've been waiting for, you know, and I think more so for the fact that him fighting in the United States now creates what I was calling like, you know, the yellow brick road, you know, to lead into eventually fighting. Let's just either say Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder. But when we look at it from a commercial standpoint, I think in the United States, I mean, clearly because, you know, you have two British fighters, I mean, fighting in the United States, it doesn't really make any sense. But, I mean, in the case where Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua do end up becoming, you know, that becomes the fight, him coming to the United States now kind of just creates, you know, the wheels set in motion. But this is heavyweight boxing, okay? And the one thing about heavyweight boxing is we've seen in the past, as it relates to even the last British fighter that came over to the United States, as you know, Lennox Lewis, the last undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. You know, he came over here and a couple mishaps. You know what I'm saying? There were fights with Mike Tyson. There were fights with Evander Holyfield. There were fights with a list of guys that Riddick Bowe that just never happened when I guess at some point, you know, when they should have happened, but a lot of it had to do with those two losses. So
yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, Anthony Joshua's here. He's coming here. The Big Baby Miller fight just makes sense. He's from Brooklyn. The fight's in Madison Square Garden. The Brits travel. Brooklyn travels. I really think this fight has the potential to sell out Madison Square Garden because, again, heavyweight boxing in New York City. And look, if Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder lands in New York City at the Barclays Center, that's going to be a sellout too.
I think they're setting up. Remember Anthony Joshua was at what fight was he at? It was we was watching the zone.
The Canelo joint.
Okay, remember he was joking. He was talking. You know they call condos and apartment flats over there. He was like, "What do they call them here? I just got like a condo." Like basically letting. Remember he was saying they call them flats over there. So he basically was kind of like wink, wink, like I'm coming over. Basically, like listen. At the end of the day. And any British boxing person to tell you this, like they all want to come across the pond and get the notoriety of the American people, you know, and not just looked at as like just some British fighter that's, you know, beating up a bunch of guys over there, what have you. But I think that the ultimate goal is to turn New York into what it was, you know, with, in the 70s,
in the era
with
the
reason Ali's
Madison Square Garden, the Mecca, right?
Yeah, right. The same, it was late 60s, whenever those fights took place. But anyhow, to have that same mystique, you know, with these guys. So I think that, like to your point, Roberto, I think that Wilder and Fury is going to be in New York. And then I do think that if not by the end of this year, at the tip of next year, you're going to get one of those guys fighting Joshua. Yeah, I think that's going to happen. Probably around this time next year, we'll be talking about that fight taking place.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, I think things are getting
I don't think
set.
it's a long thing.
No, I don't think so, man. I mean, I'm thinking this time next year, I think we're talking about that fight. Like, I think we're going to be heading closer to one of those. You know, whether it's Fury or Wilder or whomever. I think everything's being set in motion, and now it comes down to like, well, you know, how are they going to figure it out with, you know, Showtime and Fox and. But what I've always said, and we've always said this, man, when the money's on the table, they end up figuring stuff out. So I think that's probably the least of the concerns right now. But I think for Joshua, he needed to come here to the United States, and I made this point too. The U.S. market is still the biggest market for boxing, even though the U.K. does great numbers and the fans come out. When we talk about, I mean, this is a business, guys. When we talk about money and dollars and cents, the biggest fights that have happened in the United States have been the most lucrative fights in boxing history. We're just coming off a fight that made close to what, $500 million, $600 million with Pacquiao Mayweather. So again, man, like it makes sense that Joshua's testing the waters, and like you said, he went to the Rocky Fielding fight, and he was like, oh, okay, now I get it. So look, and I got DAZN. I think Train still has DAZN.
Oh, yeah, I had to make a switch, but I still got it.
Yeah, man, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's just you're gonna get the fight. We got Dane Jacobs and Canelo. We're watching that. So I think for DAZN too, like it's big on their end. Where now, like you really think about it, man, like they have the two biggest money makers in the modern era. You know, not named Floyd, but you know, in dudes that are in their primes, and it's now going to be interesting to see like if people are going to jump on board to like, you know, oh wow, here's one of the heavyweight champions. Let me subscribe. Oh, here's, you know, one pound for pound, you know, whatever, Canelo, whatever. Here's, so we'll see if that's like also an added thing that, you know, people are an added bonus, I should say, as far as jumping on to DAZN. But let me ask you this, man. Like, what are the chances that Big Baby Miller like pulls this fight off though? Like and like kind of spoils the apple cart, or pulls off like an Oliver McCall type of deal? You there, Train? Oh, I fell out again. Yo, here's another thing I wanted to mention too. I think with Anthony Joshua, it's kind of like with Deontay Wilder too. Like there's vulnerabilities with this guy that almost it's like it makes him kind of like with Wilder must-see TV. Because look, that Povetkin fight, I mean, you know, for those who didn't see it, go back and see it. Like Povetkin was landing some solid shots on Anthony Joshua. Now, look, Anthony Joshua is a huge heavyweight, man. I mean, I come from the era of seeing heavyweights in the realm of like maybe 235 at the biggest 240. We're talking about, you know, obviously getting into the Klitschko's, but you talk about somebody like Anthony Joshua, who granted like has a lot of muscle mass. I kind of feel a certain way as it relates to that, but I think with him, man, like every fight, it's a situation where you don't know what you're gonna get with him because he knocks these guys out, but like there's a lot of vulnerability there, man. Like there's a lot of things that I see that, again, it's heavyweight boxing, and I make the examples of Lennox Lewis, and there's others. I mean, he's just one. It just, you know, he came from the UK, he came here, and he suffered 2 losses. Now, mind you, man, like he re-upped on both of those losses by, you know, well, Oliver McCall, he quit, but you know, knocking out Hasim Rahman. So I think it's just with Eddie Hearn, I don't know if it's gonna be a deal where they're gonna tread lightly. And you know, Big Baby Miller, man, I mean, I think he could do well. I really favor Anthony Joshua heavily in this fight, but I think they're gonna try to tread lightly without like taking cans per se, because to Train's point, all roads lead to one of those fights, whether it's Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder. I think in the modern era, that is the big heavyweight fight that the casual public would come and see, and that would probably be the next biggest fight. I mean, we all want to see Spencer Crawford, but that isn't the big, like, that's almost like a lesser commercial fight than Trinidad De La Hoya was, even though within a year and a half that could change. I don't know. So I'm trying to look at the comments here and see. Shout out to my man Juan. Shout out to my man Flo. My man Flo always cracking the jokes throughout the day. My man Juan saying he thinks the fight goes to late rounds. If it goes to late rounds, he favors Miller. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, it really depends what kind of shape this dude is in, because look, man, Big Baby Miller, I mean, he could throw and everything, but it's just when you're getting hit with big shots, and look, Anthony Joshua, like I said, he could get cracked, he could get hit. We've seen him drop. We've seen him get back up and knock somebody out. So I think just Big Baby Miller makes sense. Like, that's all I can really say. Like, I really think Joshua might win it like with a spectacular knockout. Like, I honestly think that is the likelihood of of what's gonna happen. But it's heavyweight boxing, man. We really never know. So we're gonna just wrap this show up, man. Like, not much going on this week. I said again, like Leo Santa Cruz fights this weekend. The undercard, John Molina Jr., Omar Figueroa. That fight might be better than the main event, man, because like I think somebody's getting knocked out in that fight. There's gonna be a major anti-science fight, as shout to ROD, as he would say. But that takes place on Fox, so not much going on this week. I mean, there is some fight. Rob Brandt's fighting on I think it's ESPN Plus. So beyond that, February we got Alvi and Darrell next month or next week. But, man, we are reaching close to that 30-day period of Mikey versus Spence. And this is going to, all roads are leading to that date. And that's the fight we're all looking forward to, man. As much as, we've been talking about, it being a mismatch and things as such. But, it's a fight we're all going to watch, man. I mean, we're fiends. My man Juan saying sad everybody's ducking Luis Ortiz. You know who it's funny, man? You know who? Who's the Polish dude? I can't put my name around it. The dude I fought this past week. I mean, have them two fight, man, because I don't think the only other fight I guess is like Dillian White, fighting Luis Ortiz, because Dillian White's trying to work this deal apparently with Al Heyman. That I would like to see. That Polish dude, if Juan, you can tell me. I forgot the dude's name. The dude's I'm having a baby. I forgot the cat. I think he's from Chicago. I forgot his name. Oh, I'm drawing a blank. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man. I mean, we got there's fights coming up in the month, but I mean, I think the one we're really looking forward to is actually Sean Porter Nugas. That's coming up. There's a lot of boxing coming on, man. But that's pretty much it. We're gonna wrap it up. As I always say, subscribe, hit the notifications. We're doing shows every week. Depending on the what's going on during the week as far as big fights and things as such. But yeah, see, even Wong and I can't even tell me the name. So yeah, man. So that's pretty much it, man. Follow us on Facebook.com/GYG Boxing, at Garger Boxing on Instagram. You can follow me at RobM_GYGB on that Instagram account, and that's pretty much it, man. We'll be back next week covering, we'll talk about what happened with the Leo Santa Cruz fight. Like I said, the Ambi and Darrell fight that's taking place in Minnesota, man. I'd hate to be like up north right now, but yeah, man, lots of boxing in store, man. So we'll be back next week. Until next time, wow.